Here are all the supplies for the scripture cover laid out. The first thing that we're going to do are the scrappy strips down the middle. This is the inside pocket that we're going to do the 4 separately, and then we'll do the main one. I take them and pile them up left to right and then sew them at the machine. Here are the first 2 rectangles for the scrappy strip on the inside flap. You put them face down, right sides together, and you line up the ends as best you can. That will help later when you're sewing things together. And you just sew you sew a 1/4 inch seam down, then you open the 2 up, you grab your 3rd rectangle, right sides together, ends lining up, and you do this all the way across until you're finished with your row. Now, once you've got this all done, you're going to flip it over and you're going to press the seams all to one side. Doesn't matter which side, but all to one side before moving on. Here's the scrappy piece for the center. We're going to turn it over and iron all in the same direction and get the seams as flat as possible. Then we're going to take the piece of fusible flannel. I've marked the middles, and we're going to very carefully, with the sticky side up, there's little bubble things that melt. You want to iron across the fabric, but you don't want to put the iron on the bubbles so that the melty stuff gets on the iron. Now you can see that all the edges are attached, and so we'll do that with the longer piece also, and then we're going to quilt in the ditch along each of the seams. Here's my inside flap with the scrappy middle ironed on, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew in the ditch all along the seams before I add any of the other pieces. And you can see we've got the lines going down, and we'll do that all the way across the larger one too. I've finished stitching in the ditch along all of my scrappy strip in the middle. You can see I've added the top and the bottom strips. Here's the bottom strip, 1/4 inch seam all the way down. As I open it and press the seam open, I will be fusing it to the flannel, and then I will stitch in the ditch along the seam, and then 3 decorative lines just like I have along the top. And then I will also do the same thing for my inside flap. You can see I've sewn it on, Now I just need to do the ditch and the decorative stitching. I'm almost ready to put the lining in the front together, and what I've done is I have measured from each corner. I have measured 3 inches, and I have little marks. I'm going to line up my quilter's rule, and I'm just going to cut diagonally because I want the fold over flap to have those corners cut off. And then using this piece as a guide, I'm going to do the same thing for my lining fabric. And then the next step is the buttonhole. Okay, for the buttonhole, which is not really a buttonhole, it is a ponytail holder. I pinch one of the ends down and I wrap the thread around the bottom, and this will hold it in place while I'm doing my sewing, and it'll end up on the inside. I'm going to place this on the right side of my top fabric, and I'm going to put it in the middle, and I'm going to baste it along here so that when I sew it with the lining, it'll end up on the outside when I flip it right sides out. With the buttonhole in place, I am ready to put right sides together of the 2 fabrics. I'm going to pin all the way around, and I'm going to sew a 3/8 inch of a seam, leaving an opening along the bottom probably of about 3 to 4 inches so that I can turn it out. I've turned everything right side out. I just need to go in. I just used one of my favorite chopsticks to go in and turn the edges out, or the corners out, because it makes it a little bit, it makes the corners more crisp. And you can see just a little bit of pressure on each corner. Here's the other corner before. You just go in and push it out. It makes it more crisp. And then we're just going to go and give everything a good ironing, making sure to take the edges of your opening and press them inside so that when we do the top stitching, the hole will be sewn shut. We are almost finished. At this point, I don't do measuring. I simply stick my book in and fit things the way I want. For the inside cover, I wanted 5 of the strips on the inside, so I stuck them in and I folded it over, and then I've just gone and made sure that everything is smooth all the way around. Now we're placing the inside flap. So the first thing we need to do is open it up, and you can see I put a pin in the middle just to hold the placement so it doesn't go anywhere while I'm working with it. What I'm going to do right now first is to just fold this end under just a little bit, 1/4 inch, as little as I can get away with really, and then I'm going to fold the top ends under so that they match up with the top and bottom. And then once those are where they need to be, and this is folded under, I'm going to just do 1 long stitch along here. Before I still haven't done my top stitching. I decided to make a little pocket for a couple of pencils or a pen or something for marking just on the inside. And so I started with a 3 inch by 4.5 inch square. You can see along the top, I just folded it over twice. I eyeballed it and then sewed across the top to make the finished edge for the top of the pocket. And then what I did is I just folded up and pressed the 3 sides. And what I'm going to do now is take this and I'm going to stick it just inside so that when the flap folds up over the scriptures, you can see it will fold over like that, that this pocket will go in where the pages are when it folds up, so that there's enough room for the pencils to be completely hidden. Alternatively, I have just used, once the cover is on, you can put your pencils down here. There's nothing to stop them from going out down the bottom, but they always stayed pretty much right up there if you don't want to create a separate pocket. Here we are with the top stitching all done. I started and stopped the top stitching at the bottom here where the binding of the book would be, so it would be more difficult for people to see, and with the black thread you really couldn't see it at all. I used the top stitching to sew down the flaps on the front and on the back. Oops, lots of papers. You can see along, that's what's holding it down, and I back stitched along each of the seams just to make that a little bit more sturdy. All I have left is to close it all up and find the placement for the button. There it is. I'll probably put the button right here, and we're all done. Brand new cover.
Thank you for watching this video. If you like what you saw, please take a second to click the like button now and to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, please check out my blog at www.areformedheathen.blogspot.com. Happy crafting!